in your kit. There is a thin shanked screw mandrel and there's a thick shanked screw mandrel. So one you can see is a little bit more delicate, and this one here is a little beefier. The problem with these, I'll pass these around in a second. The problem with these thin ones, although sometimes it's an advantage, is that they can bend. And if they're bent and they're spinning around in your flexible shaft, they're spinning around like a whirligig, right? So we want them to maintain really nice and straight. So you want to use, for this process, the really nice big fat thick shanked one, and that will avoid any issues here. So I'm gonna pass those around. All the time. Yeah, all the time. Yeah, Owen asked if I ever snap cutoff discs, and yeah, I snap them all the time. I also gave you guys kind of thin ones, and that was on purpose. So you can use cutoff discs. You can use cutoff discs to cut metal, which it's an abrasive. It's also made of silica, which is dangerous. These are aluminum oxide, I think. Silicon carbide. These are silicon carbide, I'm sorry. And so they're made of silica inside of here. They're a composite material. And yeah, I'll show you what Owen's talking about. They are really, they just snap in half. It's like a cracker. So I'll pass these around. You can keep breaking bits off of them, but they break really, really easily. They can actually explode like in your face, you know, like, yeah. So be careful, wear your safety glasses or a face shield. If you wear a face shield, you should also wear safety glasses. I learned this from the OSHA people. A face shield is for your face. It's not an eye shield. It's safety glasses, apparently. So if you're gonna wear a face shield, you can. We have a mask, it's a little extra protection. If you are gonna wear only your spectacles, then I would recommend getting some polycarbonate spectacles. They're shatter resistant material. That's what safety glasses are made out of. And so the polycarb, I have Zenni like safety spectacles. I got them for like, I think that the polycarb is an extra fee. So I think maybe I spent $60. If you know your prescription, you go to zennioptical.com and you can order polycarbonate glasses with your prescription. Anyway, these cutoff discs are super, super brittle and they can explode on you. So you do want to be careful. For scoring and folding, I like to double them up. So I rarely, if ever, use them singularly. I use them at 2 or 3 at a pop, and I sandwich them together. I make like a little sandwich out of them. And you use your screw mandrel to, I'm gonna run out of time. I'll keep recording and you guys can leave. You know what I mean? So you use your screw mandrel, and then you have your layers, your couple layers, stacked layers of 2 or 3 of them, and you screw it in. A little awkward, I have to be left-handed for this. And I just use my hands to tighten this. Sometimes I'll use my little ruler, you know, my handy ruler, because it kind of fits in, but you'll see that this mandrel has like a flathead screwdriver head on it. And that I do like that that feature.
It's a lot. So if you're saying an actual screwdriver or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. The ruler fits in there kind of nice. And then to loosen it, I just loosen the material itself, and I tighten the material itself, and then it's like a bigger nut basically, as long as you don't break them. So safety glasses, and what we're going to do now is remove. Now we have that scribed line. I'm going to remove that material so that we can get a really nice creased line on this material. This is 22 gauge. You guys are going to be using 18, so you're going to have to remove a lot more material. But for the sake of time, I am doing it with 22. I wouldn't recommend using 22. I have an anti-fog spray that I'll leave in the studio, and Colin and I used it. I don't know how great it is. But you guys on the computer machine can't see, but my glasses are fogging up. No, but my eyeballs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut as straight a line as I can with the doubled up cutters, and be as still. And I'm removing material. I'm not trying to cut through it. If I cut through it, it defeats the purpose, and I should have just made a cube out of 4 separate sides, you know, which is soldering nightmare. So the only disadvantage of the tiny little thin cutting discs is you can see 2 distinct lines on here. So it does cut 2 separate lines. No matter how close together they are in the tool, there's 2 distinct lines. The Dremel brand does sell like beefier, fattier cutoff discs, and these also have like a impregnated mesh in them, like a typical chop saw blade. These will cut through steel. Like all of this stuff will cut through steel. But it won't, you know, the thicker the abrasive, it won't leave like those two lines that are in the metal. So you're going to want to get most of the material out with the abrasive disc, because it's just going to save you time. And you're constantly looking at the thickness of the material. Is there a fine line Sharpie I had? I thought I had one out. That's okay, a big one will do. So when you're grinding out the amount of material, you want to make sure, that's uneven, you want to make sure that you're cutting enough out that you're almost all the way through. And what ends up happening is when you're almost cutting all the way through, a little vein will appear at the very bottom or the back of your metal. So when you're grinding this metal out, this is the thickness, it's quite exaggerated, but this is just 18 gauge. You're grinding all of this material out to allow you to then bend all of this material up, and you're removing any additional material. That's some feedback. Oh, those are Owen's headphones.
Oh, those are actually false.
Could we get them out of here? Because there's feedback. Can you grab them?
Yeah.
So we're removing some material here. There is a risk, just like a soda can top, that you bend and bend and bend the scored edge, and you should try and only bend it one time. Test it out. If you bend it back, it's probably going to snap off, just like a soda can top, right? We're removing all of that material, but then we're compromising that material too. So, and then we're going to be able to bend it up, right? So we're removing quite a bit of material in here. After you use the Dremel, you're going to want to go in with a series of files and just make sure that all that material is really nice and cleared out. The triangular file in your intro kit is almost perfect. It's like a 30-degree angle. The square is a 90-degree angle. We are trying to remove 90 degrees of material out of there, and actually a little bit more, because there's also the edge of the material. So I like to go in with the triangle to remove that inconsistency or that gap from the multiple ones. These are cheap files, and I learned, check this out, Harbor Freight guarantees these things for life. So you guys all have Harbor Freight tools in your kit, and if one breaks, you can just take it to Harbor Freight and they'll replace the whole kit. That's crazy. So we gave you lifetime tools. So so you want to make sure that you go in and you remove a bunch of material, and you're going to keep going, and then you're also going to start favoring instead of just having the 90 degree in the metal, you're going to start to remove this material too, and you're going to go in and you're going to sort of file away all of this material. So you've just cut with your discs And then you're going to go in with files and remove even a little bit more material. And this just allows for you to get that exact 90 degrees. Once you bend this up, once you bend it up, there's kind of no going home, right? So you want to remove enough material that you almost see what we call a vein pop out right here. And that vein is the point of no return. The vein, and by a vein, I mean like you can kind of see a raised area, just like on your hand. And so you keep going until you kind of see a light raised area. So I'm going to keep going with a couple of these files. Now I'm using a flat file, and it has a file edge. It doesn't have a safe edge. So so I'm going to remove this material, until there's a vein on the other edge. So I'm going to keep going. And you can almost see a vein. I slightly bent it, and there you can see a facet or a vein. And so, so once that vein appears, there's kind of no return. You can also see it's a little crooked. So I filed it a little crooked, so that means it's not going to be fully 90 degrees. So it's really important to have it laid out nice, cut out square. And then when you bend it, then you know it's all four sides are going to be perfect. But you can almost see it's at a slight angle this way. So I am going to go ahead and bend this. We do have squares in the checkout area, or in the open tools area, and you can use a square to make sure that it's square. So this is a little obtuse, so I'm going to make sure it's exactly square. And when you use 18 gauge, it's a lot easier to make sure things are square because it's just thicker metal.
I have a question, Erica.
Yeah, silly.
Did you cut the sheets with the shear, or did you just cut them out with the saw?
I cut them with the shear.
Okay.
Yeah, but that shear is wily. It's untrustworthy. So make sure you measure things out like properly, with your divider, or with a ruler.